I got that too. Oh, I did pick up a horrible Resident Evil movie this week. I'll tell you about later. All right, welcome to episode 193 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again this week, we have Steven.
Boo.
And Chase.
G'day.
He decided to show up this time. Chris needed a break, so there we go. All right, so I'm going to go first with what we've been doing, just jump into it, because we're not having a show next week. I'll be out of town for a little bit, and I'll be coming back on Saturday, and I really don't want to be driving all day just to turn around and do a show. So we're just taking next week off. Why not? So I guess that'll be no Halloween episode, or maybe no, we'll still have episode. That's the next week, because I'll be getting back in town, not doing that show. Then I'll be at work Monday, traveling to New York for a couple of days, but coming back by that Friday. So we'll have a show that weekend for the first. And then I'm going out of town again the next week for a couple of days, and then I'll be back in time to do the show. So I'm going to need help with you two doing the notes.
It'll be Halloween weekend that weekend.
Yeah, touche. We'll figure it out. But jumping into other stuff, I've been playing Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, which I've gotten back into because that game is just a lot of fun. I'm like 60 hours into it, and I don't know why I still just really, really have fun with it. Did either of you get this one at all?
Yep, I have it sitting right there.
I need you to play it so we can play together. Jennifer was playing it for a while, but it's a little tricky playing some of the stuff with her. But it's got some really good, like, dungeon-based, like, run around that I would love to do with other people. It's a lot of fun. Still a great game. I love how it runs on the Switch 2, which I'm a little annoyed that I paid. It was like $3. I'm not that concerned, but paid the $3 to get the Switch 2 edition because I got the Switch 1 physically by importing it, just to find out the Switch 2 edition is coming out physical with everything on it. It was like, all right, whatever. Still worth getting. Great game. But I've been leveling up everything and just trying to go through. And I'll get into a dungeon and like meticulously see what I have to attack and like work my way through everything. It's kind of an obsession. When I'm not playing that, I've been working on Star Wars Outlaws, which I've gotten to the 3rd planet now, and I'm really, really, really pissing off the Crimson Dawn group. Basically, I've used them as like just the shithole that everybody else, like, I'll do stuff for them to get on their good side by betraying Crimson Dawn over and over again, to the point now they're sending out kill squads on me. I think I've gone too far. So that's been fun, randomly getting kill squads coming after me in space or on a planet. It's going to be a while before I get back in their good graces. I don't think I'm ever going to get their the clothing options and things you get if you were liked by them. I'm too far in. And lastly, I picked up Pokemon Legends ZA. Jennifer's been playing that since launch, and she even went so far as, like, I got her to go to bed. I let her stay up to about 10 the night it came out. I was like, all right, you need to get some sleep. You got school in the morning. Went to bed, got up the next morning, and I jokingly was like, well, you didn't get up and play it more at night, did you? And she's like, well, yeah, because the girl can't lie. She never does. And she's like, I got up a little bit later and played it for a bit. I was like, all right, if you're tired at school, that's on you. But she has been absolutely loving it. I've been playing it on the Switch 2 version. She's playing it on Switch 1. It doesn't bother her. I got to say, the game runs really well. It looks better than I thought it did, because people were making it out like, oh, it's some terrible looking lazy game. And I'm like, yeah, it plays fine.
Most of the lazy just came from people who are used to the portable versions, and they didn't like it that all the windows and doors are just textures. They're not actually there.
Yeah, I haven't even noticed that part
yet.
You
don't go into shops. You just press A and it takes you inside and brings you like their menus and stuff. And I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, I've been trying to adjust to the combat because it is different playing it in real time as you're running around. It's a fun twist, makes you really rethink how the moves work and where you're having to be. So that's kind of cool. I am, kind of messing around with the capture mechanics, like sneaking around, getting stuff until you actually piss something off and it starts running after you and you're having to dodge because it's literally trying to kill you, which is a nice change for Pokemon. It's, it's like, oh no, you're going to hurt my Pokemon. No, it's coming for you, the trainer. It will maul your ass. but yeah, I'm enjoying that. It's playing pretty well, and I think I'll give it some more go and see how that works out. But I mean, at least I was pleasantly surprised with it. But yeah, the other thing, I guess we'll just talk about that for the group chat for our what we've gotten things. So, Steven, what about you? What you been doing?
Well, I decided to go outside my comfort zone and play some ZZZ.
Oh, I'm glad you finally gave it a shot.
They had an update
We've
where
been
they
telling you
added
about it for years.
three new characters. I've already spent $25,
I was wondering how much you paid for this.
and I don't get any characters yet. That was just to get some items. Getting there. Um,
How much for the
and then
characters?
what?
How much for the characters?
I'm trying to earn them
Okay.
with what they call like pulls or gotcha tapes, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what I spent some of the money on already. I haven't gotten anybody yet, but I'm getting there. Maybe another $40 will do it. I don't know. We'll see.
Are they listed somewhere in your will? Like when you die, it just automatically pays part of your what's left over to them each time.
But let's see. Then on Steam Next Fest, which is ending Sunday night into Monday, I downloaded a veritable shit ton of demos. Just gonna quickly just list through. I got ones I haven't tried yet, but I downloaded. I downloaded My Little Puppy, which is kind of like an adventure game, but bring the tissues because it's about a dog that finally passes away, so he's looking for his original owner in heaven. So, and you're
Oh shit!
hearing stories along the way. So I was like, and it's coming out for Switch as well. The other
So
one I
get
need to find the
emotionally wrecked.
guy's name. Hold on, but I also downloaded from the makers of Peak as a 4-player co-op game called Crash Out Crew, where everybody drives forklifts, tries to deliver, and it eventually just becomes just chaos overall. Escape from Ever After, which is basically if you want, like, if Scooby Doo and Paper Mario had a baby, this is the kind of game you'd get. So it looks really good. There's a demo for Ultimate Sheep Chicken, so I can see how that one works with it being on bikes now. A lot of people are saying good things about Bubsy, so I downloaded the Bubsy 4D demo.
That's a first.
Skate Story, where it's an apocalyptic world and you're a skateboarder made out of glass. So,
Okay.
Keys of Fury, which is basically like if Sifu was like Typing of the Dead.
I think I heard
Another
about that one.
co-op game up to 4 people. It's called Long Drive North, the co-op RV simulator. I was like, all right, sign me up. And Demio Cross Dungeons and Dragons demo as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's out. Okay.
So, and then
That's one I definitely want us to play.
I recommended for Chase the Mechanicus 2 that came out as a demo as well. And then for people like Point and Click, there's Simon the Sorcerer Origins, which is taking a classic from way back when and updating it as a prequel. And it's basically got the voice of the guy who played Rimmer in Red Dwarf. So
I don't remember.
So there's a lot to play. So yeah, get your demos in before the license ends this weekend.
Yeah, like I said, I downloaded a bunch of them, but I haven't a chance to play them. I don't think I'm gonna have a chance because I won't be. I'm taking my Legion Go with me just to have in the car, but it's gonna be on the whole drive down there, so who knows?
Every gas station do a level.
Yeah, I got to charge it like twice, I think, on our whole trip. So, all right, Chase, what about you? What you been doing?
I have been playing Dawn of War 2. When I every now and again I sprinkle in a couple missions. Recently started playing the Battlefield 6 multiplayer. It's really good, as I was expecting from the beta. Some pretty funny moments that have come out of that already, being crushed by buildings and whatnot. And then I started playing it because Chanel was playing something on the computer and I needed something to play. So I was like, all right, well, I'll give this a shot. So then I started up Ghost of Yote. And then in a span of, and that was, I started playing it 2 weeks ago and I finished it yesterday. So needless to say, it potentially got a little bit hooked and was like,
Sounds like
yep,
it.
I need to play this. No, it's really good. I mean, it's everything that Ghost of Tsushima was, as far as the gameplay is concerned. Really well done. Game looks absolutely gorgeous. Sucker Punch did a really good job. Game's definitely not without its faults, but like anything that I would say that's like necessarily a fault would be kind of probably a little bit nitpicky. If you're asking me to compare it between this one and Ghost of Tsushima, I would maybe still give a slight edge to the first one, but that's potentially just because of maybe a little bit of a writing issue that I would have to talk about with you guys sometime when spoilers can be discussed.
Yeah, I will play this one eventually. It's on my list to get.
Yeah, you can spoil everything about that game to me. Because by the time I play it, I won't even understand who anybody is except Snake.
Yeah, that's good. But no, the game's great overall. I like absolutely gorgeous game. You do a lot of similar things. Like there's a lot of things from Ghost of Tsushima 1 that when you start playing this, you're like, yep, I remember this. Yep, I remember. Like you'll just be running along and then all of a sudden like some bird will show, like a golden bird will show up and be flying around you and you're like, oh, yep, there's something nearby that it's trying to show me. So then you start following it. The fox dens are there, so you get to pet the foxes and do all that. Some of the
I totally get
animations.
excited when you cut the bamboo too.
Yep. Yeah, there's people like when you do the bamboo cut things, you like people will just like crowd around you, and then as you're cutting them, like if you fuck up, they just start like laughing at you. But if you do it, they're like, "Yeah!" It's so funny.
I watched a clip where the foxes were like all dancing because they got a perfect cut.
Yeah. One thing that they did differently with this one now is like when you do the bamboo cut, sometimes they throw in like this really weird um kind of wrinkle to it where like sometimes when you do a cut, all of a sudden like another piece of like one of the pieces of bamboo will go flying up in the air and then you have to cut that
I
in the
saw
middle
that.
of the
That was
air.
Oh, nice.
So you have to like so then you got to press either like 2 or 3 buttons like it stuff it real quick, otherwise it just drops down and then you fail. I was like, fuck. So yeah, that's the combat's really good. Instead of stances like in the first game, they've actually made it to where it's all like different weapons. You pull out like you basically have like a fucking armory on you somehow.
Video game logic. That's just how
Yeah,
it goes.
exactly. Somehow you could carry a spear, a sword that's as tall as you are, a katana, another katana, and a sickle and chain.
Yeah, I've given up on video game logic so much over the years.
Nano machines.
Yeah, nanomachine, son. Yeah, but it's really well done. Oh, and not to mention you get 2 different bows, a rifle, and a whole bunch of bombs and stuff. You're just like a walking armory. It's ridiculous, but it's great. It's fun. It's good fun.
I'll just keep it in my pocket dimension.
Yep, my bag of holding. I've got nothing but pretty much good things to say about it. So
nice, awesome. That gets me excited for that one because it'll probably end up being like a holiday time before I pick it up. Just because there's so much stuff I've already got and everything else going on. But I really do want to play this one, so I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it, or you enjoyed the hell out of it, actually.
Yeah, I still need to go back because I'll try to platinum it at some point. So I'll definitely go back. But
all right, so let's go ahead and jump over then to the group chat. So we'll go ahead and jump first. Stephen will start you off with our pickups of some of the stuff that we have grabbed recently. Because I know you had some fun ones to talk about.
I had my 9th wedding anniversary on Wednesday.
Congrats.
And I went a little shopping, a little thrifting and stuff. Some things I'd order from Target. So I've got one of a Final Fantasy VII Remake novel called Two Paths. I guess it's a side story. I like collecting weird video game books. Got Extreme Ghostbusters on Game Boy Advance. Apparently it plays like a platformer.
I want to say words right now. I've been looking for that one. You son
Streets
of
of
a.
Rage 4 soundtrack. It's a selection,
Mm-hmm.
but anything Yuzo Koshiro and T. Lopez do is awesome in my book.
I wish I knew you were looking for that. I could have sent it to you.
A $10 Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I like to collect all the Call of Duties on Xbox.
Nice.
Just like I'm trying to collect all the Assassin's Creed on Xbox. This was really cheap. This was only $5 on Amazon, and it's hardcover.
Really?
It's Not All Fun and Games, and it tells you a life in production, video games and toys from the development side, from the producer's point of view, instead of like the gamers and such.
Oh, okay.
Much to Christian's thing, I got the Persona cookbook.
So many cookbooks.
Splits it between Persona 3, 4, and 5, and is pretty accurate. Target was clearancing out their go-kart, so I got the weird go-kart they always show off there for $10.
Oh, I didn't know they were clearancing those. I know I've looked at those a few times.
And
they have an Ecto 1 that's there I have to pick up.
And then I did get the Walmart Metroid things they had.
Oh, nice.
So one of them is 2 Metroids and Samus, and then one of them's all the Samus doing the Spider-Man.
I think those are just repackages of ones they've already done.
Yeah, I didn't have that size.
Yeah, I think I have those in the earlier sets. The only one I think is new is they did the big Metroid, which I do have that somewhere around here, but they added like blacklight effects on it. So if it's under a blacklight, you see like the veins and stuff on the clear part.
Yeah, so, I have him, and I have what's her name, one of the Targaryens from Game of Thrones riding it.
That's great.
But yeah, no, it was a pretty good thing. You missed last week, Chase, where I finally jumped in on the PSVR 2 train. So.
Oh, did you? How good?
He got it for a ridiculously cheap amount. Like if I could have found it for that, I would have got it too.
Because Amazon was having their Prime Day, and then they were like, "Oh, you can also get 35% off refurbished." So I was like, "Okay," and then they were like, "We have the Horizon bundle." I was like, "All right."
That's what I got for Shinoa.
So it was $185 for the whole thing.
That's
I would have
really, really good.
USB cable. Oh no! But everything else looks like the guy like picked it up and said nah and put it back down because the code's not used and everything else. The box is a little beat up, but I don't care about the box. I'm eventually just going to get a carrying case for it.
Yeah.
And I know the number one game I'm going to get, which Shinoa likes too, is Moss 2.
Yep.
Because that was the one I was just like, I can't not play that. I played the first one.
Yeah,
she played a really good series.
She played that one and she was like, "Oh my god, this is like." She's like, "This is why I bought a PSVR 2."
Yeah.
And
the rest I'm just gonna look to see which ones I like for PSVR 2 games.
Yeah. I mean, I got it for her as a gift or whatever, stuff like that. Yeah. But she's never had anything bad to say about it. She absolutely loves it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna get it when it got to a good price, and it did. So I was like, sweet.
Yeah, I kind of hate that I missed that. That'd have been awesome. So for me, most of the stuff I picked up recently, I found this game earlier, just random. The Edo Zombie Uprising. I was like, I'm curious to give this a try because I love zombie games, and this just looks ridiculous as a single player hack and slash. I don't have that many games on PS5, so I give it a shot. But the big thing, quite literally, that I picked up this week, or I found earlier today and just decided to buy because my Juggernaut that I showed at the beginning of the episode. This thing is heavy. Like, this is a big boy. Very posable, very well detailed, good balance to it.
From some versus game they cannot mention.
Right. This is basically from the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 set, as Steven said, that doesn't mention the name. But the really big ones like this and Shumagoroth, which they renamed Shumagoroth something else, you had talked about it. They're individuals. You get them by themselves, but
they're ginormous.
Massive. This is one of the heaviest ones I've ever bought. But I was doing really good. Like, I would find them, take a picture, send it to Steven, be like, hey, just to make sure, do you have this one? And I got a little tempted the other day because I found the Captain America and Venom one. And I was like, okay, Venom's kind of neat looking. They've got an Eddie Brock with like half the face there and the Venom coming out, and you could swap it for the full head. And I was like, no, I even held off with that one. I couldn't with this one. This is just too damn good. So I broke my rule and bought him today, which is like $65. It's not cheap. But he's worth it. I mean, this is like statuesque for the
He
size.
weighs almost that much.
He weighs more than some of my statues. It's ridiculous.
Juggernaut will
But
flatten him.
but I love the scale of it because I do have a bunch of older X-Men figures that are really good, and they're gonna be like the proper size. Wolverine's gonna be like this, like he's gonna be, the short guy in front of the Juggernaut as he should be. So I'm looking forward to that. He does come with a couple different replaceable hands, which I don't know if you can see them in yours because I know you won't open it, Steven, but like the detail they put in the fingernails, like they're eerily, creepily real for how they did the paint jobs on these. And he comes with like the one blast effect, so he can be doing the Juggernaut, punch and stuff. And for these, you just have to pop the bands off. These actually just pop off the hands, and then this pops into place to swap it out, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
And then the actual bands on these are actual bands just slipped on there. Like they wanted to keep it realistic, so you can adjust it all. So yeah, I'm happy with it. He's expensive, but I liked it.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy, but he's definitely collectible worthy. So I give it a thumbs up. Even if you're not getting the rest of the set, Juggernaut's worth it. And I'm probably gonna, if I find Shumagorath, I'm gonna get him because that's just too weird. Like you're never gonna see him anywhere. The only other oddball they could come out with was the cactus guy. If they actually made the damn cactus guy.
Yeah, I think that's Capcom size, so they'd have to do it.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but who knows?
Mingo.
Yeah. We won't have a show next week, but for those wondering, I'm going on vacation next week. I am going to Nintendo World. So I will be going down there and who knows what I'll be coming back with. Hopefully the Amiibo watches, and I'll talk about those because I'm going to try and get them all because I am a psychopath with my Amiibos. Because at that point, I technically have to say that they are available in the US, so I have to go find them to finish my set. So who knows? But we'll see what other stuff I manage to locate, and I'll be seeing Rachel while I'm down there as well. So tell her hi, see what we find. I'm supposed to be getting my Indiana Jones hat too, so that'll be awesome. Chase, did you have any pickups to talk about, or are we just pretty much going to our other topic?
The only thing I don't have it with me to show, but the only thing I did pick up a new Warhammer Codex for the Grey Knights, so potentially might be doing a Grey Knights army. So
is it like a guidebook for
yeah,
like the rule set for that group or something? Or I've never understood what the codexes are. If you don't mind explaining.
So the codex. So the codex books, because obviously like we're in 10th edition now, and what'll happen is over time, Games Workshop makes the codexes for the armies. They do like a little roadmap to show like when they're going to get released. Right. And basically what happens is that you use that codex to understand like what your army rules are, like what special stratagems you get, things like that. The only thing that's kind of funny is that depending on where your army sits in the roadmap, there's a good possibility that your codex is going to come out, and then like the next edition of the game is going to come out like a few months after. So it can be a little bit bad luck for some people.
So do the new rule sets basically make the old codex like useless?
Basically. So eventually what happens is that you run off of that codex until you get the new codex, and then once you get the new codex, then that supersedes the old codex, essentially. Gotcha. So, I mean, it's a way of like you're generally going to have to buy a couple of books every few years, which is kind of how they're going to generate their money, because you're not
necessarily need that money.
Yeah, well, because I mean, in theory, like they'll make their money off the miniatures, but eventually, once you have all the miniatures you need, then you won't buy more miniatures until they do like a range refresh or something.
Right.
So that's how they're going to make their money, is off the books.
That makes sense. All right, so we'll jump over to our other part of the group chat, and this is the discussion we wanted to have last week, but Chase was not here. But since he finally got a PC, we've been playing stuff, and we finally started Content Warning. and holy shit, that game is hilarious. So, Steven, since you're the one that got us starting on this, I'll let you talk about it first because oh my god.
So for those who haven't played, content warning, it's only a couple bucks. It's less than 10.
It's totally worth it.
And if you've played games like Lethal Company or anything that has you go out as a group, this one puts it on its side and says, how about instead you try to make viral videos? So you and a bunch of guys with just heads that are made out of whatever you type in on your computer. You basically can take at default just a video camera, but then you can basically get other video equipment. You can get stuff to add more suspense or more comedy to your outing, be it a soundboard and stuff like that. And then you basically go underground where everything's dark, black and white, scary, and you just see what kind of monsters you can come across. Except for the fact that in this type of horror-esque game, you're not really fighting them. You're interviewing them or trying to create a video. The more dangerous, the more jackassy it is, the better. So especially if people die or get maimed, then when you upload it to SpookTube, then all the commenters will be like, did that guy die? And stuff like that. And they name you and stuff like that, which is really cool. And the coolest part about it is every video you make, you can actually save to your desktop. So you can save the videos for just playing back whenever.
If you go to our Discord, we've been putting them up there for our adventures, and it has been hilarious.
My wife's favorite one is when I decided to test out the main area to see if I could die. So so I just climbed the highest thing on the building, pointed the camera at myself, said my name, and said, "Welcome to Jackass." I dove off, and Jeremy luckily had the perfect timing to call my name as he was summoning me from the sky, and I dropped in like a rag doll, crackling bones and everything. So it was gold. But we have other ones where we tried to interview the monsters, and we all panicked.
We have died many times in weird ways. I kept getting grabbed by a blob in the first one and getting dragged off with the camera. Like, what the hell's going on?
There's one we thought he died, and then like
I fell off a cliff and I was still alive.
Chase was just like, he didn't die. He's still down there. I'm like, oh.
I could never find a way back out.
Dude.
Oh, man.
The best part was, though, is that the item that you brought with you is what killed you. Because you fell off the cliff, and then you were like, what does this thing do? And then all these blobs came and killed you. It's like, oh.
I could have lived. Who knew? But...
yeah, we took a grappling hook. We took a soundboard, which was great.
you had fun with the soundboard.
I love the soundboard so much.
Yeah, I was like, give me the soundboard. You stop with the soundboard.
The microphone's great because it actually amplifies your voice.
And they actually, when you're doing the videos, they're talking about like, oh, you're interviewing so good. Like you point the mic at them. You had problems because you kept not looking up, and you found that little thing that kept grabbing you from the ceiling. It did eventually kill you, actually. So
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Then it picked up his dead body.
We're out. Say what?
And the best part is that just like shows the next player his point of view, but you can hear everything they're saying. You just can't hear the dead. So I just hear them like, did they die? They're dead. He's not responding to us. I think he's gone. We better get out of here.
That's the best part of this game, honestly.
The other part, which I think a lot of people from the video have laughed at, is when we found that one creature that likes throwing those bombs.
Oh, God.
And I was running away. I turned around, and Chase, you yelled out, "Grenadier!" And as soon as you said that, the cave like lit up with a big explosion.
Well,
man.
There was something that was catching the area on fire because I think Chase was standing there.
I died from that. I died like almost instantly.
It's a big like Slender Man walking around. I was like,
yeah, he just ran up and was like, "What's he doing? You gonna talk to him?" And like, I think he hugged you, and you just died. We're like, "Oh shit, let's go!" Like it's killing him.
Swan was trying to interview the one that like walks in like stop motion, and then all of a sudden he just, sir, and then his mic just cut out because that thing just killed him. Just said, "Get the fuck out of my way."
You and I looked at each other. We're like, "We need to go now."
Yeah. Then it started walking after us. We're like, "Oh no, let's get out of here."
And then we ended our last session with the fact that I got lost, and while they were dead and probably being like, "Go this way, go that way," I was just like, "I don't know how to get back to the ship."
Oh,
And
you
I
had ran
eventually
out of
ran out of
oxygen.
oxygen and suffocated.
That was great.
One of the
If you are
better,
dying, oh, go ahead.
no, one of the better moments for me was I think Swan died. I'm pretty sure, and then
Yeah.
um, Jeremy and I were trying to get back. We were being chased by one of those assholes with the knife, like one of those guys that dressed
The
up like
little
a
stabby
ghost and a
guys.
knife. And then
Yes.
we got into the thing. We hit the latch to shut the door, but the fucking thing followed us in right before the door closed, and then he just stabbed both of us to death while we're in the fucking thing. I was
Well,
like, oh
luckily the
my
fridge
god,
was saved.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I was
that's
gonna say.
true.
If you die, if the camera is inside the bell, you'll still get to keep the footage. You'll go back to the bell, you can get the camera and keep the footage. If you die outside of it, you
Yeah.
lose everything.
Because there was a few times that I watched you guys get in there, and then that grenadier, threw a bomb in there and exploded all of you guys. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
Oh, that game is definitely worth getting. I'm looking forward to just playing it some more because it is just stupid in the best way. The more people, the better. If you can get a full group of 4, I think that's going to be the best. So we're trying to get Chris to play with us now, and I would like to stream or record this a little better somehow because this is just too funny not to have
Yeah.
extra stuff for. But yeah, you can, like I said, you can see the ones we did from the last time over on our Discord. You can just find that over at zenspath.com. Link to the Discord's there. Free to join. We're always there kind of talking with everybody. So hop in there and have a laugh. We'll be probably, I think we put it under multiplayer, but we have a bunch of other stuff too. So yeah. All right, let's jump over to the news, which sadly this week has a lot of death. So, starting off with our first one, we have Drew Stuzan, who passed away at 78. This is the guy, like, even if you don't know him by name, you will know his work when you see it. His movie posters from over the decades of, like, The Thing, Back to the Future, Adventures in Babysitting, which surprised me. I've always loved that one. The Star Wars movie poster series, Indiana Jones, and so many
Muppet,
other ones. Huh?
the Muppets.
Yeah, the Muppets. Um, I know there's a little iffy on it, but he did a lot of the Harry Potter ones, stuff like that. But like you'll know his pictures as soon as you see it. There's actually a Star Wars puzzle I've been working on for a while that I realized was his work. I was like, oh shit, I really got to finish this and frame it because it's great work of his. So that was a sad one to hear about because like there's a few artists I actually really love and his for a lot of his stuff was so iconic. Um, like I've got so many movie cases that have got his artwork and things as well. But yeah,
Yeah, this next one hurt.
yes. So let's go talk about this one here. Tomonobu Itagaki, the Team Ninja founder who helped revive Ninja Gaiden in 2004, created the Dead or Alive series and directed Devil's Third on the Wii U, and more, has passed away at the age of 58. We don't know what he passed away from yet, uh, but it seems he may have kind of known this was coming or he had something planned because he had one of his friends post on his Facebook account. He put, quote, "The light of my life is finally fading. The fact that this message has been posted means that the time has finally come. I am no longer in this world. I'm asking a loved one to make this final post. My life has been a series of battles. I kept winning. I've caused a lot of trouble too. I'm proud to say that I followed my beliefs and fought to the end. I have no regrets. However, I'm filled with regret that I wasn't able to deliver a new work to all of my fans. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. So it goes." So I know, he was originally Team Ninja, left from there, made their new development group, and they were working on trying to get some games out that they had not published, but I think they're still continuing to work on it. So we might still see something of his come out, but he will not be
Yeah,
directly involved with it
people got
anymore,
to know
obviously.
how influential he was because he basically like helped put Xbox on the map with Dead or Alive 2 and 3.
Oh yeah.
Um, and he did a lot for fighting games that people who want to get into Virtual Fighter, they're told to play Dead or Alive to kind of get the same mechanics. So the fighting game community is basically like in mourning right now. I've seen a few streamers tear up and cry over it. Similarly, like how I did when Iwata passed, because
Mm-hmm.
it's somebody who's like, his just what he's done has been so deeply ingrained. So just like Drew Itagaki did, with the Ninja Gaiden, it's just like he did so much for the action genre that he propelled all these other people to get better and better, because competition's always a good thing when it comes to development. And he had a funny but friendly um, friendship with Harada, who actually put his his thoughts too, where he was just like, we were supposed to go out drinking, I was supposed to talk to you about my next idea, and now I can't, and this sucks. So he was feeling depressed too.
I think he'd
But
also wrote, like you told, that Itagaki had told him to, anytime he needed advice, to contact him, and he was regretting that he never got a chance to do that.
yeah, and he created some of the first memes, like
Yeah.
the One Up had a top 5 hated games by Itagaki, and it was Tekken 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that he hated. And for 1 through 4, his review was hate, and then 5, he actually said why he hated Tekken 5. But it was all like in fun, so
Right.
Harada even understood, and they talked about it. And everybody was posting their memories, how at E3 he was always the party animal. He never took off his sunglasses.
I think that's what everyone kind of knew him by as well. He was
He
always
jumped
that
fully
one.
clothed into a kiddie pool once because he thought it was covered, because he had his sunglasses on. It was too dark, so he thought there was a plastic cover on the pool. There was not. So yeah, it was good.
Like when Ninja Gaiden, like the series existed beforehand, but it was completely revitalized, and I think everybody's knowledge of it to this day is based on what he did with Team Ninja originally. With that, you're talking about on the original Xbox, and eventually on other systems. And I don't think we're ever really seeing much in the way of the old style of Ninja Gaiden coming back. It's pretty much just that fast-paced 3D action and insane difficulty that they started with that version beyond the original NES ones. So yeah, it's definitely a hard one there for the gaming world.
And for anybody who wonders if it comes in threes,
yeah, I've got one more that I didn't put in the notes I was gonna talk about here as well.
Because I just saw one that was in the music world. Limp Bizkit's founding bassist has died at 48.
Oh, jeez.
Damn, that wasn't even the one I was talking about, because the one I was going to mention was Ace Frehley from Kiss passed away.
So Sam Rivers 74. Passed away as well. So, whew, what a week.
Yeah, good Lord. And then, yeah, just it's been a bad time for people passing away. But Ace Frehley was known as the spaceman persona for Kiss back in the day. And yeah, so he's passed away recently as well. So, dang, just a lot of stuff going on. It sucks. All right, so I guess we'll leave that behind, move out from the deaths, and move into, well, corporate mergers of all things. So we talked about this before with Warner Brothers possibly being bought out, but Warner Brothers has declined the buyout offer from Paramount, not because they don't want to sell, but because they want more money. Paramount was offering $20 a share, but Warner Brothers President Zaslav is looking for $30 a share, which they're currently sitting at $17.10 a share. So that's a pretty good uptick on how much they're offering on that. Warner Brothers is planning to split the company, with most of the debt likely being hung on the neck of the cable TV branch, so they can kind of push them aside and let them drown with all that debt, while the rest of the company walks away without it, to try and revitalize them or make them more interesting for a buyout for a lot of things. Or some people would call it, they're trying to Toys R Us that part of them, because that's what happened with Toys R Us. They got bought out, all their debt from that company that bought them was thrown on Toys R Us, and they just died from it.
Now you can find them in your local JCPenney's.
If you have a JCPenney's, yes. I mean, Paramount is already hot off the merger with Skydance and already looking to gobble up something else, like some kind of corporate The Blob, which ironically they don't own the rights to that series. Just give it time, they probably will. And they've even talked about, like, if Warner Brothers doesn't accept their offer, that they might try going directly to the people that own stock, like the stockholders for the company, to try and just bypass them completely and do it that way, which seems almost a little underhanded, but I mean, business is business, I guess. I just really hope they don't get it, because we don't need all these companies merging that much. Like, it was already bad enough for a lot of them, but like, so Paramount and Skydance are already one thing. We don't want Warner Brothers added in because that would give them all of DC Comics, all of that stuff as well. And just, yeah, it's going to be bad. Do you guys have any thoughts on this one? Your pro merger?
Sell all the Warhammer properties to Disney.
No.
Would they even have the rights to Warhammer?
Games Workshop's pretty protective of that stuff, so I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, unfortunately, I think there was a precedent set a long time ago with when, especially in the movie industry, with Disney being allowed to buy everything that they bought, and nobody really
Fox, that was a big one.
Yeah, and when nobody kind of really batted an eye when they bought Lucasfilms, and everyone was kind of like, okay, and then they bought Marvel, and everyone's just like, okay, and then they were like, we're going to buy Fox.
Lucasfilm was owned by George Lucas, so he could decide to sell that. Marvel was going through bankruptcy, so that's on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want Marvel to get eaten up by Disney as well. I wanted the comic book company as possible to kind of stay independent, but so we'll have to see on there.
The movies got better.
Yeah. Wow.
Can't argue with that.
Better's relative,
Chase,
I guess.
The old if you've seen some of the pre ones, you might think they've gotten better.
Well, no, I mean if you're talking about the older ones compared to the newer ones, it's fine. But
did you ever see the first live action Captain America?
Yeah, but
it was rough.
I mean, I guess this is pretty. The decline, though, that's pretty standard. Like, it's the CEO's prerogative to make as much money for his shareholders as possible. So I guess he's just doing his job. They came with 20. He said, no, I want 30. They'll probably meet on 25 or something like that. That's pretty.
Mr. Beast buy him.
Fuck that dude. He needs to go bankrupt, if anything.
Oh, Lord. Hot takes from Chase here.
Hot taste. Screw you, Mr. Beast.
I don't think we're going to get any more views from that. All right.
No, probably not.
Whatever.
Bubba doesn't like Mr. Beast.
No.
Yeah, the commenter calling you Bubba still kills me. That was absolutely hilarious.
That was pretty funny.
Shout
out to that guy.
It was just your resting face that he was just like, that guy wants a beer.
Yeah,
I was because I was talking about the Lego Game Boy, and he's like, that Bubba down there don't give a damn about what you're doing, and he just wants to drink his beer. And I'm like, yeah, he's in New Zealand, so I guess technically he is more south than me. And it was just because you were wearing the camo jacket at the time.
Yeah,
I'm the one that's actually living in the south. I'm in Florida. Yeah, you're having a beer. Who cares? We're adults
Foster's.
here. But part of it's also because you were letting me talk, because I'd already talked about the Game Boy with you guys before the show. So I was just kind of talking for that point. You're just like, yeah, I'll let him talk. And then, I guess I just took it as you not being interested. And I was like, okay. I just thought it was stupid.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some more updates on the Nintendo hack. So Nintendo has finally responded about the Crimson Collective leaks, offering a statement to put everyone's mind at ease. They said, quote, we have not confirmed any leak of personal information, and there has been no leak or development or business solution information. Some external servers that displayed Nintendo's website were defaced, but the company said that there was no evidence of damage to customers or intrusion into the company. So nothing was taken on that point. You just had an outside server and part of the website messed with, and that was it. This comes after the recent Pokemon hack that's apparently leaked information for Gen 10 and 11 of the mainline Pokemon series, as well as a possible MMO for the series. I don't really want to go too much into detail on these for leaks and stuff, but we'll see. Steven, go ahead.
Apparently, the Pokemon COO has commented on it, saying, please remove any and all leaks that you are posting on the internet. So it makes me wonder if, one, he actually said that, and two, if he's firing off the litigation flare gun, saying, this is your one and only shot. Take it down.
Yeah, we have the other
We're the
person
Pokemon company.
Losing,
we'll go after everybody.
And they will. I mean, some of the leaks seemed interesting, but I'm like, just give them a chance to make it. And there's a lot of times when this happens that those ideas might be scrapped. You're like, oh, they're finally doing what we want, but you've leaked it, and now they're going to go some other way, and it's not going to really benefit from you. Like it's different. Like if they post something on accident, like something gets out or someone slips and says something, that's on them. But if you're breaking into things and taking stuff, you're not really benefiting anybody. You're just trying to get points with people about this and possibly cause damage to whatever's coming out. And that's pretty much true of any of these. So I don't know. The good thing, at least with Nintendo, we don't have any of like personal information or credit card information or stuff like that. Nothing with
Nintendo
that was
leaks,
touched.
as fun as they are to see behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
they lead to game cancellation. So just don't do it, guys.
Very, very true. All right, so let's move on to our next bit here. So this one I thought was kind of funny, and I just wanted to talk about because the landscape of digital, physical, and whatever weird in-betweens is continuing to be confusing with a few recent highlights I wanted to talk about. So speaking of EA's Battlefield 6, that's been released, and they made it a whole thing of it being complete on disc, which is great, except it requires an always online connection in order to play the single player, which makes it pointless for handheld PCs that some of them are being used to play it. And they're like, oh, this is really great. But as soon as you're not online or not available to be online, like say you're on a flight or something, you can't play your game, which is like, why? Like, it could have just been a download at that point instead of even worrying about the disc. That's what I find so weird about it. The other one was Bethesda's Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. Oh, which Steven has. I'm glad I didn't order it because it's a physical, and I'm going to air quote the hell out of that. But apparently it only includes the opening dungeon, and anything beyond that requires a download. So it's just a kind of expensive demo of the opening part.
And it doesn't say that. It doesn't say requires internet. It just says the key codes are inside if you want the DLC and the digital deluxe content.
Okay. Because I was going by will it play or does it play, and they were talking about it, and like you'll go through the opening dungeon when you first start the game, and when you start to go out to look into the whole land of Tamriel, apparently at that point it has to install if you haven't already. So I think that was actually the demo of the old 360, the original Xbox version or 360 version for Oblivion. So it's kind of funny that was there. If I'm wrong, I would hope to prove that one way or the
It's
other.
one of those things you'd love to be wrong, because the Battlefield one I've seen happen in front of me, like
It's just so weird. Like,
with people reviewing it and stuff.
yeah, you were so close. You were there. You had it on the disc. Make the multiplayer a download. That was the best thing Doom ever did for like Doom Eternal and things, or Doom 2016, where the single player was on the disc and the multiplayer was a download part, because if it goes down, who cares?
You went full internet. You never go full internet.
So if you can prove me wrong on Oblivion, I will get that because I wanted to pick it up. And that'd be great. The last one, though, this one I am happy about. Machine Games' Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus is actually getting a re-release physically on the Nintendo Switch through Limited Run Games, which does now have the entire game on cartridge. Because before it was a download that was required for it. So, good game if you've never played Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. It's a lot of fun. Lots of killing Nazis.
Does it work on Switch too?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think the current one does. So I don't see why this one wouldn't. Just less downloads. No major update though. It does run better, but I don't think they did a Switch 2 update. So I don't know. Just weird things with physical media recently, and I just wanted to say something about it. All right, our last little news segment. Oop, hit the button on myself there. So we got surprise updates for Switch games that are for the Switch 2 this week. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, and Plants vs. Zombies Battle of Neighborville are now finally compatible and for sale on the Switch 2. So they've updated those, and they're down to a pretty small amount of what games don't play on Switch 2 now from the original Switch. It's like a negligible amount. If you can find major titles that are having an issue, that's kind of surprising. Beyond that, Warframe, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and Splatoon 2 have had issues fixed and new updates put out for those as well. So at least we're continuing to see updates to the Switch 2 editions.
Did they fix Mortal Kombat 1 so it could run?
I thought they did that already. I think that was an earlier one that they did a patch where it runs correctly now.
I'll have to see if it's on the store.
I saw how bad that game was on the Switch, and I was like, I'm not even going to try it. Like, I'm glad
people are like, it's beautiful now. It plays at 60 and it does what it needs to do. It's like, okay.
I thought graphically it still had some issues, but that was just
Not what it used to have.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's because of the Switch limitations, not because it's on Switch 2. I don't know. I think I haven't picked up that Mortal Kombat because I've gotten to the point now I don't buy them until they have some kind of complete edition, which I've done that for the last couple of them. I'm like, I might as well just wait, get it when all of it's there. I did it with both the Injustice games also, and
I think they're waiting for at least $30 a share before they do a complete edition.
Probably.
God, if Paramount buys them, that's a good point. All of Mortal Kombat would go under that too. Damn it, man.
WB Games, they'd get a hold of them as well.
Yep. Well, now I really don't want that to happen now. That's just don't touch my Mortal Kombat. Those are fun because it would also affect Injustice.
So would they get? So then would they get a hold of Discovery then as well if that goes through? Because isn't Warner Brothers Discovery?
I thought they split Discovery off. It changes so often. I don't know.
They'll just give them everything. Just they're already removing the cap, saying you can't own 3/4 of everything, and they're like, "Screw it, let's just have a total let's just have a King's Day."
I'm waiting for us to find out we're going to have a merger. It's like someone's going to buy out our show. Like, no one will. No one watches it, but we're for
Catch
sale.
us soon on Netflix. No,
yeah,
that's where all the weird people will be.
I'm not too proud. I'm for sale. I'll say shit. I don't care. I will run your ads. I will do things for money.
He'll hawk Game On adapters for money.
I would. As much as I hate it. This is the best RCA to HDMI adapter you can get. And then I would just like cut and vomit.
And quickly hook up a retro tank and be like, okay.
Crisp pixels, proper scan lines.
I missed you so much.
Quick, get me my CRT. I need to show my Lincoln games. All right. So we don't really have much of a speed run for this week, so we're just going to jump straight over to the big question.
Speeding to the big question.
Yes. So this week, we didn't really talk about it in the news, but this is the 40th anniversary of the Nintendo Entertainment System's release. So we wanted to talk about that a little bit of our memories and so forth. So this week's big question is, what are some of each of our favorite NES games and memories for the 40th anniversary? So Stephen, we'll start with you. We'll start off with our memories a little bit, and then we'll go into our games.
Memories, I've never beaten Zelda, ever.
Really?
And I hated
Zelda 2. I get, but Zelda 1 is surprising.
When I got a Nintendo from Service Merchandise, if anybody remembers those stores.
I do not.
That's where I got mine, and they bundled it with Mega Man 2, so that was the first game I played with Mega Man 2.
That's not a bad start.
At least, and in the NES days, my parents were like, "You have to beat what you have if you're going to get another one." So I had to beat Mega Man 2, which wasn't that much of a problem. But then my next game of choice was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I had to beat. And Nintendo basically taught me patience. They made me a patient kid because those games, oh my god. Ninja Turtles and Mega Man, I was just like, okay, this is quite a start. And then in subsequent holidays, my mom had gotten me DuckTales for Nintendo, but forgotten about it in her closet. Found it one day and gave it to me. So as a kid, I was like, oh, I got a Christmas present after Christmas because she found it in her closet and she gave it to me. Part of me was just like, DuckTales was just so awesome. I had to open it and play it, but I wish I kept it sealed. But then as a kid, I had a brilliant idea. Like I was going to make thank you cards and stuff. So I would take my NES boxes at the time and I would cut them up into card shapes.
You're at least trying to be sweet, but
and Lord, that cost you some money. In them. Thankfully, I only did it with DuckTales before I understood. Because then I had my first comic book and I was just like, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. That would not be a good idea. So, yeah, that was the gist of it. And then a lot of my reading and spelling came from playing like Final Fantasy on it. Because I was just like, what is this? Even though they abbreviated everything because you can only fit 4 characters. So my name was always butchered. Couldn't even fit Steve. It was Stev. I was just like, I hate this. But other than that, no, That thing stayed with me. I would always blow in the cartridges until Funkoland wanted to sell you a cleaning kit and said, "Don't blow in them; it creates bacteria." And
Which technically it does, but yeah.
but then as I got older, I was just like, "Oh, if I just breathe warm air into it, it'll work." And it worked every time for me there. And then I understood it was because the chips got bent because they were cheap. But yeah, it was always good going to Funkoland and getting that big newspaper and looking through all the NES games and circling which NES games I wanted to get.
Yeah, we didn't really have much of a Funko Land down here as a kid. There's more KB and Toys R Us.
KB's still good too.
I miss KB toys. Chase, what about you? What are some of your favorite memories of the NES back in the day? I think you're muted, Chase.
Yep, you got me.
That was a good
I was
memory.
like,
We'll never hear that memory again. It was so awesome.
Yeah, you
I had to edit
probably
it
won't.
out. It was just too amazing. It made my
It was.
memories feel useless.
I don't know. Mine's a bit short because I didn't actually own the NES. It was my grandmother that owned it. But I do. One of my fondest memories of it was getting to spend time with her, playing like Super Mario Brothers 3, and also we played Dr. Mario, the 2-player Dr. Mario competitive mode. Like our family would sit around and play that at like Christmas time and stuff. So that was always a lovely memory for me.
Nice. So some of mine are kind of interesting. Like I got the NES back when I was a little kid, and I figured out later that I think my grandparents and my parents got it because my younger brother was being born, and they were like, "Oh, we should maybe get Jeremy something because he's gonna feel like he's kind of left out here." So they, for Christmas, got me my NES, and I remember the first day we had it, and there's photos of this where I wanted to play Mario, but my dad and my grandfather kind of took over the NES because they were playing with the Zapper playing Duck Hunt. So they were just like amazed that they could. They're like, "Oh, how accurate is it?" And they were shooting and playing Duck Hunt for a while, and I'm just like, "Can I please play Mario? I really want to play Mario." Which this led to a picture that I've joked about, but I'm not putting out there. But my mom, I don't know why she took this photo, but for those that don't remember, video games used to come with instruction booklets. And back in the day, we didn't have phones. So when you had to go to the bathroom, you brought whatever you had to read. Well, I was waiting to play the NES and I had the Super Mario Brothers instruction book. So my mom almost like kicked the door into the bathroom and just like snapped a picture of me just like shocked looking, holding the Mario book because she thought it was funny. I was in there reading it and I'm like, thankfully nothing gets shown, but I'm just like, this terrified like deer in headlights look of my mom just doing this. It's such a weird memory for the first day of having your Nintendo. A lot of the NES though, I do remember not so much of owning the games, but like so many trips to rental stores. Because this was the whole time back then, like, you wouldn't always buy the games, you would just go rent them. So I tried so many little NES games over the years or whatever was left over at the different rental places because all the popular titles were taken really quick. So I ended up with all the weird stuff. But that's how I got to try a lot of stuff like Double Dragon and Contra and, things like that. It's just whatever happened to catch my eye and what was there. Because I was limited on which games I could get. So I tended to only get like one game a year. Because my siblings, their birthdays were in the middle of the year, so they would get something there, and then they would get something at Christmas. Well, my birthday is Christmas, so my parents would just kind of combine it into one day, so I got one game. And if I did not pick a good game, that was on me. And I remember being super excited and asking for Spy versus Spy.
Great game.
It is, except for I was the only one playing, so I couldn't do the 2-player mode. And I beat the game in one sitting and was like, realizing I had a whole other year before I would get another game going, what have I done? So, yeah. Which that led to, we had gone, I guess during like a field trip or something, we ended up having to go by one of these other kids' place. I think it was maybe for a Boy Scout thing or whatever. His parents were, I would call rich at the time. They just had a bunch of money, but he had a massive NES collection, which now I think about it, it's probably like maybe 10 games. Like for me, that was insane at the time.
You must be a millionaire. You have 10 Nintendo games.
Right. You know, I was a kid. For me, I was like, I think I have like 2. Like that's just, you know, at this point we're talking about like Mario and Duck Hunt and Spy vs. Spy. Everything else is rental. And he's like, oh, I don't really rent. I just go buy them. And I was like, what? You can do that? Like, so between that and I remember my parents took me to, they were having like a dinner party. This restaurant my mom worked at, the owners had everybody over, and I didn't want to, you know, I was a kid. I didn't want to deal with all the adults, and they had an NES and a bunch of games. So they just kind of shoved me in this back room and let me just play all night. So I'm like swapping out games and trying stuff out with it. And that may have actually been before I got my NES. So I was kind of trying out everything. I think that's what got me wanting to collect as I got older, because
like, I want all these games. How do I get them?
Right. The rarity of having those, like, because I had so few for so long. So the NES was definitely the start of my whole collecting habit and the fun of it. So a lot of good memories of that thing, because that was basically the beginning of my gaming life, other than the Macintosh I messed around with, and I would see an Atari on occasion, but the NES was the first one. But speaking of those games, I wanted us also to talk about what our favorite games were for the system, because the NES had a pretty sizable collection of games. And that was before most of us as kids didn't even know about like the Famicom or other regions. It was just what we got in the United States. So Chase, we'll start with you on this one, because I know there's one that I reminded you of earlier that's going to get brought up, because I was like, there's no way in hell you're not mentioning it. So go ahead. You did it again, Chase. You muted yourself.
He's never going to mention that game again.
Never going to mention it. My list is so bad, I didn't really want to talk about it.
It's fine.
So I just decided to do Super Mario Bros., Dr. Mario, Ninja Gaiden, and the one that Jeremy reminded me of, thankfully, because I play it a lot on my Switch with the Game Classics, is Tecmo Bowl. So, pretty decent basic list, but a good list, I think.
Tecmo Bowl was surprisingly fun. Like, I'm not a sports game guy, but I went back and I tried it one time, and I was like, oh, no, this is actually kind of fun. Like, I get it.
Yeah, it is actually quite... it's
surprisingly
funny trying to, like...
back then.
Yeah, it's actually like quite funny in the sense that you're basically trying to guess what the computer is actually going to do in any given situation, because otherwise, like, there's no defense.
I know it's always been like Tecmo Bowl lore, but who is the character that if you picked that team and that player, he was the fastest? Was it Barry Sanders?
I thought that was Super Tecmo Bowl. I thought that was Bo Jackson for the Raiders.
This is trivia I need to look up.
Right, you end up looking that one up there. I'm kind of curious now too.
I can't remember if it's the Raiders or the Bengals. I think it was Bo Jackson.
Tecmo Super Bowl on NES. Bo Jackson is the master.
Okay.
Tecmo Super Bowl.
I guess to add to this question, I kind of want to also put in here, like, how do you, because it made me think about when you said the Switch, like, how do we experience NES games now, 40 years later? Which for you, Chase, you said you're mostly playing on the Switch via the Nintendo Switch Online stuff.
Yep.
Because you don't have any access to an actual NES like at the moment.
No.
Yeah,
so it's basically just through NSO for me, which is fine. Like,
yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
and because the NES is also like infinitely, emulatable at this point. So
I thought it was kind of cool though, because our flatmate that the other day, I think I might have showed it on here ages ago, but he actually pulled out of his closet. Because he's still got it in box. Is a Master System 2, Sega Master System 2.
I think you did show it, and I was jealous as hell because I'm like, that's amazing.
I was like, man, this is cool. I asked him, I was like, can I show this on podcast one time? Because I said, I think they would really appreciate this. Because
great.
It was quite cool to see, actually. Yeah, he's still got it in box. Like,
that's insane,
crazy,
man. All right, Stephen, what about you for your games and how you
I didn't like
to experience it?
any NES games. No.
Okay. Cool.
I have two that I have with me here.
Ooh.
One of them is Mendel Palace that I'm holding up with Americanized box art from Hudson Soft. Art, rest in peace, Hudson Soft. When you boot it up, you'll see that it's one of the first games pre-Pokemon made by Game Freak. And all the art in the game is done by the Pokemon designer himself, Ken Sugimori.
Oh, okay.
So, I do have a water-based painting of the main character, whose name goes escapes me right now because the names are just so common. Because you're trying to save your girlfriend, whose name's Candy, and you're trying to save them from like Dragon the Punk Rocker or Sumo the Killer Wrestler. So yeah, understand that. And the other one was because Zelda 2 was so bad on NES, I needed to play a game to cleanse myself. And luckily there was this game called The Magic of Scheherazade, which to me, this is my Chrono Trigger. I refuse to play Chrono Trigger because this one is done so much better in my eyes that I'll probably get a lot of slack for that. But
Ooh.
I just can't get into Chrono Trigger because it just reminds me of this, and I go back to this game instead because it's the same thing where you can go through time. You get all these companions from all the different walks of time, and the music's really well done because it's all kind of like Aladdin genie based stuff. It's just one of my favorites.
So I looked it up in the American version, by the way, from Mendel's Palace. The player's character is named Bon Bon.
Yeah, there you go.
That is not a common name.
Well, I mean, like
at all.
Everybody else's was common, apparently.
They took a common object because Bon Bon went out with candy, so that made sense. So I was like, okay.
All right, fair
he
enough.
had a much better name in Japan, though. In
Carton
Japan,
was the Japanese name, and the girlfriend's name was Jenny.
Yeah, so he had a much better like protagonist name there. I still follow the homebrew scene. Like I do have Leisure Suit Larry on NES that I need to try out, which I was just like, what? They did what? So that's been crazy.
In the where?
And there's always a game that was fun to nitpick because I grew up on Commodore 64 and then seeing those same games come out on NES like Mule, which I love. I love the Commodore 64 version better though. And Maniac Mansion, which if you look up the history of that with Nintendo, they took out so much stuff. That's probably the most censored game out there.
More than likely. Oh man. Well, what about the like how you play the NES games now? Like how do you experience them 40 years later?
If I want to play them with somebody, I'll play them on NSO, or if I'm just kind of hearkening for a certain game I want to replay again. Other than that, I have other venues. I have an NES Mini. I have a Steam Deck, and I have a system called the Polymega, which allows me to put a game in there, and then say, "Can you just put the game on the hard drive in it?" And that way, I don't have to wear down the cartridge and stuff like that. So that's very helpful. That one you can only play what you own. You can't just like add games to it. Recently, though, I've been really happy because I've been collecting some Famicom disc games, and now since I own them, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the ROMs for them. And one of them was based on a Commodore 64 game that I really loved called Little Computer People.
I remember you talking about that one.
Made a version called Appletown Computer People. So it was basically like a more realized version of like a console version of it. And it's just a simulation where you watch. It's like the Truman Show. You just watch somebody live their life, and you can influence them or not feed them and stuff like that. So it's Sims before the Sims, and you don't get to do much of anything but watch. But it was just so endearing. It was a lot better than Sea Monkeys. Take my word for it. And then they finally released an English patch. Somebody translated it, so that'll be probably the next like Famicom / Nintendo game I'll be checking out.
Awesome. So for me, for favorite games, I kind of made a list of a lot of the ones I remember playing over the years. Like I said, I rented a bunch of them. There were ones that stuck with me that I really liked. Most of these I have now. Surprisingly, a few of them I'm still trying to locate. Of course, we had the original Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3 for when those came out. You know, I had the Duck Hunt version for the original Super Mario Brothers, but I've managed to find a whole collection of variations of Super Mario Brothers just on the NES or different releases for that, which has been kind of a fun, obscure thing to look into because they kept changing the cover, like the art and stuff on it. Iron Sword Wizards and Warriors 2, which that was a game I got for one of the Christmases that I ended up putting a lot of time in. That is a brutal game too, by the way.
It's got Fabio.
Yeah,
on the
Fabio
cover.
was on the cover, which I didn't know who that was at the time. It was just some big muscle dude in the front with a sword. But I actually really enjoyed the game. I got all the way you jump the mountain and fight a dragon and all this other stuff that's going on. It's surprisingly fun. You should try it out. Of course, the original Legend of Zelda I did play and I did beat. Zelda 2 is the one I kind of bounced off of. Like, it just never clicked with me. Contra, I used to play all the time, especially after we learned as kids what the Konami code was and how to get 30 lives and things like that, which is the only way I think anyone's ever really beat it. I don't know if anyone's beat that thing on just 3 lives. I think as a kid, I tried telling people I had, and I'm like, even thinking now, I was probably full of shit. Like, I more than likely, I know I beat it, but I used the Konami code. Let's
It's like
be
saying you
realistic.
beat Battletoads, you're like, you're full of shit.
Right. But as a kid, I was probably trying to get cool points. So I will admit to it now. Young Jeremy was probably an asshole for that. Like, he did not beat Contra with 3 lives. Kirby's Adventure, I played with my little brother. I remember getting that back around, when it first came out. Absolutely stunned with that game. Like, it was a well done platformer for the NES. Like, did so much stuff you did not think that system could do at the time that it came out.
Taught you how to draw Kirby as soon as you turned it on.
I remember that. It's actually really cool. For the Mega Man games, they had so many of them on there, but Mega Man 6 is the one that I remember the most, which I know a lot of people hate.
Published by Capcom.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember that one because that's another one that I would play with my brother, and we had actually gotten a hold of that game. And I still have the cartridge to this day, but that's the one where you could get like the jetpack for Rush and stuff like that. And I just remember how cool a lot of that was. And yeah, I get it's not the best Mega Man. There's previous ones that are a lot better. That one is straight up personal nostalgia, and I will cop to that every time. I'm fine with that. Because I know nowadays you go back and play and you're like,
because there was a funny story behind that where Capcom's like, we're moving on to Mega Man X, and Nintendo's like, no, finish, and we'll publish it. And they're like, okay. So if you ever have them, like all the boxes, if you're rich, you can have 1 through 5, and it says Capcom on the side, and then you get 6, and it says Nintendo, and you're like, what?
I never even noticed that as a kid. Yeah. I don't have the box for that one anymore. I'm sure that box was destroyed decades ago. I'm lucky to still have the cartridge. Metroid, the original version with Samus, is what I played on that. I remember that one a lot because I had a friend that lived across the street who also got Metroid around the same Christmas, and we would meet up on the bus every day and swap passcodes so we could check in where the other one is to see how we're going and what we're, what things we found and talk about it. And I think that was one of the first games I really got kind of a public interest in regards to talking to people and figuring stuff out together, not just playing it and enjoying it and discussing it, but actually strategizing. Where should I go? What have we done? Some of the other ones, Tiny Toon Adventures. That one was another one that was really well animated, good platformer that I had fun with. I remember playing over the summer. Bionic Commando. That game is freaking hard because you can't jump, gotta swing. I'm just so confused by that as a kid after playing Mario for so long. Bubble Bobble was a favorite that I would rent all the time because there were so many levels in that game. I would just, because there's like 99 levels in that thing, or if you remember.
Yeah, because you had to fight a boss, and then it pulled the ghouls and ghosts on you, saying he kicks you back to find the special item, and then you got to kill him with that item instead. Because I thankfully, with the help of Game Genie, beat it, but it was yeah.
I've never beat that game. I mean, I had to keep renting it, so I mean, it was like basically starting over every freaking time. So, Double Dragon.
And my wife was just like, "Oh, look, they have Bubble Bobble 2 at GameStop." If you bought it for $30, it's not $30 anymore.
Oh yeah, I think I have Bubble Bobble too, but that's yeah.
That's okay.
Double Dragon I really enjoy because the side scroll beat 'em up, which is part of what got me happy with the arcade machine. If, depending which version of the show you're watching, you can see it back there. So I've always loved playing that one. The NES one's great, but it's not as good as having the actual machine. I will kind of cop to that's probably not how everyone can play it. Though they did put this edition on Nintendo Switch Online or on the eShop, so you can buy it. So get that version; it's good. Of course, the original Ninja Gaiden, just because that game was stupidly difficult and fun. Excite Bike was one of the big ones I really enjoyed that we did play a lot. We would make courses and then friends would try and beat those if they were over the house. Of course, you had to kind of make it and then have them do the time trials because you can't save anything, because even though they had the option to save, they never made the tape deck in the US, so it would just crash the game every time you tried to use it, either reading or writing to it. Good job, Nintendo. Should have just taken that out. Shadowgate was one of the first kind of horror games I got into. This one I got into more with the portable version later, and then went back to the NES one after kind of doing that. So it's a little backwards, but it's one of my favorites. And the last one I really remember, because this is one I rented a lot, and I actually don't own. I'm trying to find a copy, called Gotcha the Sport. Now, back in the late 80s, early 90s, Gotcha was like a paintball game that became kind of popular with a lot of people, except parents, because you were shooting paintballs, and they really did not like that in the house. But this was a light gun shooter that you had to use the D-pad and one of the controllers in one hand to move back and forth while aiming and shooting with the zapper in the other one through different levels. So like, it was like a very basic, I guess, first-person shooter technically. Like you're kind of
Time Crisis.
Yeah, it's 8-bit Time Crisis. That's a really good. There's no dodging. You can't hide behind stuff. But did you guys ever play that one?
I haven't. The artwork was always funny because it's just a guy jumping through. Gotcha.
Yeah, he was just sitting there with the gun, like.
And I always saw copies of it next to Platoon, which are two totally different types of games.
Oh God, Platoon. Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Shadowgate's actually a tabletop RPG now.
Seriously? I'll have to pick that one up. That'd be kind of neat.
So is Legacy of Kain, surprisingly.
Really?
Yep.
I think, yeah, I could see that. Shadowgate seems like it would be a good one, like if it's a single player tabletop and you're just kind of working your way through it, because the game's just going to keep trying to kill you. But I don't know how you would lay everything out. I have to look at that one. Sorry. But for how I play a lot of these games nowadays, of course, Nintendo Switch Online is the really easy way to do that. But I have an FPGA system called the NES AVS, which, that came out from Retro RGB a couple years back. And that has the 4 controller ports built in the front. So I can, you can do 4-player format. You can do NES games. You can do Famicom titles from it. If you actually have a disk drive, it will connect to that and you can run it too. It only outputs at 720p, but like for an NES game, that's freaking fantastic. Like that's still super crisp and scales great to a 4K TV. So that's how I like to play my actual NES cartridges. I have worked on and fixed a couple of my original NES systems. I did get a hold of a top loader and stuff like that, and I have some of those hooked up to the CRT that I keep in the game room so I can play like Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley and like other light gun games from it. So if I find a copy of Gotcha, that's what I'll be playing it on. It's on there. So, and like emulation, I think, as where I really got into NES games as I was trying to find them later on, because that was such an easy system back in the day to emulate. I had more trouble finding a proper controller than I did running the games. So, all right. Well, I think that will pretty much wrap that up. All right. Well, like I said, we will not be having a show next week. So we'll figure out something else we can put out, or what we'll do from that, or we'll just have a week off. But everybody can enjoy their 40th anniversary of the NES today, or I guess if you're listening to this on the first day, yesterday. But anyways, this has been episode 193 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast. Feel free to leave us a like, share it with your friends, things like that. But we're out. Peace.
Now you're playing with Bubba.
Super Bubba. This has been a production of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast by the staff at zenspath.com. The show is created and edited by Jeremy Powers. You can find the video edition of the show on our YouTube channel at ZenspathCom. The audio edition is located wherever you find your podcasts. Links to all versions of the show, as well as to our Discord where you can talk with us directly, is located at www.zenspath.com. Please leave us a like, thumbs up, comment, and review where you can to help us grow.